young kids roaming around your yard the other day. No, they were riding on some toys.
They were swimming.
Hey, that's all right. We all did that.
Do it while you can, in another year.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start our presentation. We plan on presenting the plans, preliminary plans, and having a question and answer period. Plans will probably go for close to an hour and a half hour of question and answers. I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank the audience. I want to thank the members of the various boards in town. We're here to discuss the alternative plan for meeting the town's educational space needs, which has been developed by the Coalition for Community Preservation. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Jim Bagan. I'm a selectman, and I've been working with the CCP. The CCP is a group of concerned citizens interested in strengthening North Reading and its sense of community by keeping our town center vital and conserving open land. Two factors that contribute greatly towards towards maximizing a town's desirability and its property values. As you can see, the teleprompter is broken, so I'll be reading a bit here. I'd like to begin by giving you a brief synopsis of the recent history that led up to tonight's presentation. I'm sure we all can recite our own versions, so this will basically be mine, I guess. After last November's election and the defeat of Swan Pond and the new police station proposal, the CCP engaged its architect, Jim Alexander of Feingold and Alexander, to investigate potential for providing space both for the school and the police station. Mr. Hannon and Ellen Glue, along with Jim Alexander, toured the Batcheldor school. Based on that, their tour of the Batch and an invitation to go across the street to the police station, and input from Chief Parnell, Alexander was confident that sufficient space could be created for the police station on the current police station site, and also that the Batcheldor could be renovated and additions made to it. The initial investigations were brought forward to the police station building committee for the police station, who worked with Feingold and Alexander to conduct a feasibility study, which was presented to the town on February 12th. Mr. Alexander, again working with the LD Batcheldor School, felt the school was basically in excellent shape and could be easily renovated and expanded. According to Alexander, if students were taken off-site based on numerous school renovation expansion projects that he's done, and using any of 30 different contractors and construction companies that he works with, he was confident the job could be completed in 12 months. The CCP began working with Jim Alexander, but then turned the project over to the appropriate town committees in December. Unfortunately, Mr. Alexander was removed from the design process. Consequently, after the February 12th town meeting, the CCP reverted to its original plan and began working with its own independent architects to develop conceptual designs for renovation and expansion of the LD Batcheldor School. Funded by private donations and a modest intervention grant from the National Trust for Historic Preservation, in just 2 months, the CCP brought forward this conceptual plan that includes drawings to scale. The credibility of this study has been called into question by some people, presumably on the grounds that the design architect has requested anonymity. Thank you. The CCP agreed to this request and concurred that it was advisable, given the awkward situation which Mr. Alexander had been thrust in the preceding feasibility study. Secondly, this is not a feasibility study on which the town people are being asked to vote. It is intended to simply illustrate the project is doable, that it can be done at a reasonable cost and in keeping with the historic context of the town center. Thirdly, there is no logical reason to question the qualifications and credibility of the architects. quality and professionalism of the design speak for themselves and are clearly the work of a seasoned architect with over 20 years' experience. Fourthly, the designs and costing were reviewed by our second architect, David Hart, principal and founder of McGinley and Hart Architects, who found them entirely reasonable. David has over 40 years of experience and is one of the foremost preservation architects in the country. He is a former member of the board of directors of the Association for Preservation Technology. Finally, their motives, the architect's motives, and those of Mr. Hart are above reproach, since neither of them intends to bid on the project should it be moved forward. They simply wish to illustrate for the town the viability and cost effectiveness of the alternative plan. Now allow me a few minutes to give some background on our two presenters, Dr. Ellen Glue and Dr. Stephen Schuler, both CCP members. Dr. Schuler and Dr. Glue are well versed in the subject of reusing historic buildings such as the Batcheldor School. In 1993, they launched a nationally renowned trade show, Restoration and Renovation. This exhibition and conference attracts thousands of design and construction professionals to view the broad scope of products and services available for rehabilitation, for rehabilitating and built environment, and to learn about the latest methods and techniques of building conservation through an expansion conference program.
So just interject here. Here's a couple of show guys from our trade show, Restoration Renovations. This is the kind of work that some of our exhibitors do, but just to see kind of what the world is that we work in as trade show organizers and event managers. Sorry, Jim.
That's okay. Ellen is still the managing director of this event. Although she herself does not actually do restoration to earn her livelihood, she is highly regarded by the historic preservation community in this country and as an expert and advocate of saving our cultural heritage through preservation of historic buildings. She was featured this past January in a major interview on restoring older homes in the Christian Science Monitor. We have a copy of this if anybody would like to look at this later. She was also subject of a cover story in Expo magazine, the Bible of the trade show industry, where she was cited for her entrepreneurial skill in defining and expanding the restoration marketplace. Again, we have the article that we speak of. Stephen and Ellen, Batcheldor parents with two daughters, a first grader and fifth grader, also know the benefits of reusing historic structures firsthand. They were educated in and taught in some of the country's oldest educational buildings while earning their PhDs and holding faculty appointments at Harvard University. They also live in one of North Reading's oldest houses, the Elijah Parker Senior House on Chestnut Street, a first period New England salt box whose oldest parts date back to the 17th century. Their house will be featured on an upcoming special on Home and Garden TV. An important part of understanding the architect's plan is our ability to move through the Batcheldor School in our mind's eye. Therefore, we ask that you make notes during Steve and Ellen's presentation and that you hold your questions until the completion of the entire presentation. Thank you very much. Now, may I introduce Steve Schuler.
Okay, I don't have my degree in AV or audio visual, so you have to kind of bear with me if these things are not always at the right place at the right time. I'll be sort of speaking to this one for a few minutes, and then once I'm done with my my little overview, Ellen will do a walkthrough of it floor by floor, and we'll hand out the brochures that go with it. I think for right now it'll be just a distraction, but in a few minutes we'll hand them out to everybody so you can see. You'll have your own copies of the elevations, the bird's eye view, and the floor by floor, the walkthrough, and also the financial views. Okay. I'd like to begin our presentation this evening by putting the North Reading school problems into a wider context. Can everybody hear me? All right? Okay. This seems a little louder than I thought. Also, we need more chairs in here. We want to. It's gotten a little crowded. I don't know if we have any other.
Teacher, there are a couple here on the wall.
You can sit up here.
Actually, Dana, you're used to sitting over here, so. Okay.
Oh, you want to sit in your high chair over there?
Okay, I guess we're all set till the next group comes in. Okay, I want to put our North Reading school problems in a wider context. The issues we're facing as a community here in North Reading are, as we all know, anything but unique. Across the country, towns and cities are dealing with school space challenges in the face of rising construction costs and even tighter budgets. Many school boards have chosen to defer maintenance on their school buildings out of financial reasons. We know how expensive all cyclical maintenance gets. The National Education Association estimates that the current backlog of repairs and modernization needed in our aging school buildings is approximately $320 billion, a lot of money. And while the forecasts are for the construction boom we've been experiencing in the last 10 years are to slow down dramatically due to the softening in our economy, spending on schools is actually expected to continue to expand. So there's no end in sight on the maintenance of our portfolio of school buildings. According to Building Design and Construction magazine, school renovations will remain one of the hottest segments of the entire construction industry. So what's going on in our town, I see it town for town. Friends of ours in Scituate are faced with the same problems, nothing unique. And obviously we're all under the constraints of our pocketbooks, if nothing else, and trying to do the best by our children and our citizens at large. Over the past 3 years has developed a growing movement across the country to reuse and renovate existing school structures. That's the operative word, they're existing. This month's issue of American School and University, you think, who would be subscribing to American School and University besides David Troughton? Yeah. We do too, because that's a huge market. The latest issue, Dave probably has already seen this one through and through, but the article, the cover story is Out of the Cobwebs, and it has to do with the rehabbing of our existing portfolio of school structures. It's a huge issue right now, and one that we're focusing on a great deal more. When we were teaching for a while at the University of Colorado, we were in a city out there where everybody was lamenting the fact that in the 40s and the 50s, they had torn down 2 or 3 beautiful schools like the Batcheldor School, and they put up schools like the Murphy School. God love it, but it was probably not the school that they wanted when it was online in a lot of ways, compared with what they could have done if they kept the older schools. At least that's my prejudice, hearing someone who lives in a 300-year-old house. So, in any event. So the cover story has to do with the reuse and rehabilitation of older schools as an efficient and effective way for communities to provide additional space. Especially here in the east and northeast, where our communities are older and more densely developed, the growing forces of anti-sprawl and environmental proponents are also urging communities to look to reuse their buildings as a way to save virgin open space and keep their centers vital. That is why 45 out of the 50 states now offer tax and other incentives for saving and reusing older buildings. That's why the National Trust for Historic Preservation, you hear this name several times, it's the granddaddy organization of preservation in this country, one of the most respected in the world. That's why the National Trust for Historic Preservation named the Historic Neighborhood School to its list of the 11 most endangered historic sites in America. Every year they come up with a list of the 10 most endangered sites, and this time, generically, they took the neighborhood school as one of the 10. And it's made these schools a focal point of National Preservation Week, which takes place in just 2 weeks, similar to our restoration and renovation trade show. That is why the Trust issued a report last November, Historic Neighborhood Schools in the Age of Sprawl, Why Johnny Can't Walk to School. We've got copies of it, people are interested in looking at it. They take off on, why Johnny can't read, why Johnny can't write, and so on. Well, why Johnny can't walk to school anymore because of the sprawl and so on. That is also why the Massachusetts Department of Education, under the directive of former Governor Cellucci and the legislature, issued new guidelines for state reimbursement of school construction last December to favor the reuse and rehabilitation of existing schools. Under the new guidelines, the Department of Education reimbursement rates are actually higher for renovating older schools than they are for new construction. This brings us to the issue of North Reading's school dilemma. The voters have turned down the proposal for a new school on the eastern side of town